You know, life is dreadful. It's never-ending struggle towards nowhere, really. If you read Albert Camus' novel, The Plague, life is the plague itself. And we try in all sorts of ways to rescue ourselves from this plague that will eventually kill you. I mean, consider the stuff you got to do in your classes, the stuff you got to do at work, the way you got to tolerate your companions sometimes. You start the day fresh. By the time you get home, you're aged, you're old. And it doesn't matter if you're like 5 years old, or 25 or 225. Just life sucks the life out of you. There is also a disease inside us that pushes us towards this quest towards beauty, perfection, something that life hasn't touched and contaminated. You know, Martin Luther King Jr. slept around. I mean, he had lots of sex despite being married with different people, but nobody talks about it because the truth is, we don't really care. I don't really care. All I know is that 90% of the time he was just on point. 5% he just became human. And he had every right to become human because overcoming your humanness and tapping into creativity and inspiration, man, that's a task that only heroes are able to do. And so if you were to contaminate your psyche by today going to your office or your work or your cell phone and you say, you know what, I want to go back in time and listen to the dream speech. And as you're listening and watching the animation of this man, all of a sudden you realize that, yeah, you took this class some years ago and, you know, half the semester you were talking about infidelity, you know, that this guy was no hero. He slept around despite being married and having children, doing this and doing that. And this speech that could give you wings and that could help you fly to the sun, all of a sudden, your knowledge, this piece of information that this guy slept around, it's gonna clip your wings and you're gonna descend. I think the problem that we have, we are so desperate to find a hero. We are so desperate to come to life because life really just sucks the life out of you. We are so desperate in hoping to find someone who's just enormously creative. That we just don't want to see them be human. They don't shit, they don't pick their nose, they don't have sex. Everything they do is just magical. And the moment you hear something that descends them just to be a regular human being like the rest of us. Have you ever read that book by C.S. Lewis, Screwtape Letters? It's about this devil who's about to retire and wants to hand the baton to his nephew. And you know, you're an atheist, you have an experience, you join a church and you assume that all the churchgoers are like very close to Jesus Christ. And you go there and they eat too much, they gossip too much, they're just stupid. And all of a sudden you stop going to church. You know, you have an artist that is an artist for 5 minutes a day. Then you have an artist who's like an artist for an hour a day. And you just climb the ladder, what you realize is that you have someone like Jesus Christ. I mean, that's perhaps the most evolved artist, or the Buddha, or Muhammad, that they spent maybe 90% of their life just being a good artist, being a vehicle of inspiration, the muses that live up there. You know, there is this Indian goddess by the name of Vak. And the only thing she is looking for is a human being who is empty of themselves. So she could come down, occupy their interior and begin to speak through them. You know, kind of like the Holy Ghost stuff in Christianity. And so you have someone like Jesus Christ. He eats once in a while, and to make sure that he doesn't eat like a human being like me, he prays before eating, and he shows gratitude for all the cosmos coming together, the wind, the sun, the wheat, this, that, so he can bless his food. Even when shitting, it becomes a sacred act for him. Are there moments where Jesus Christ forgets the fact that he is Jesus Christ, being Christos by God? Yeah. Does that make him human? Yeah. But he becomes human only 5 minutes per day. The rest is just an artist. I don't know if you can find anyone who is an artist 80% of the time. But if you're able to find one that's 49% artist and 51% just human, if you have the capacity, separate the two. You ever been in a relationship? And forgive my bluntness. There are days you make love. There are days you just have sex, you know, and you realize that human beings fall in all these different categories. And you may find yourself in a moment in life where you just don't have the capacity to make love. All you want to do is just have sex. and all of a sudden your companion stops you and says, make love to me. I don't know how that's possible, especially in a long-term relationship, because you need to have so many components come together in a very harmonious fashion for this act to happen. You've read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and what you realize is that he has the power to make you feel like shit. And that's such a great feeling. It's a beautiful feeling to have. It's something we talked about in our class yesterday. You know, self-hatred is really your initiation into wisdom. If you keep hanging out with 19-year-olds, they won't give you anything. In fact, they'll validate you, and on most occasions, they'll tell you that you're a great guy, you're great this, great that. Read the autobiography. And you realize when he was 19, he had traveled a few times around the world. Isaac Newton, by the time he was 24, he had discovered half the things we know about math. And he said, man, you know, I'm like 60, I haven't done anything with my life. And you realize that some people have the power to make you feel like shit about who you are, and what you've done. And they do it for all the right reasons. Because once you put the book down after you're done with it, you're gonna find yourself in the library quite often, checking out books. And every time you pick up a book, you're gonna feel shitty about yourself. You're gonna feel unaccomplished, unintelligent, stupid, irrelevant, insignificant. And you know what that's gonna do? Lust and greed are gonna kick in. You wanna do something valuable. You wanna make a name for yourself. You want your life to mean something. And you know why that happens? Because Malcolm, you allowed him to make you feel like shit. And that's a great feeling to have. If on the other hand, you like Beyonce or you like Taylor Swift and you're a musician and you can't sing like Taylor Swift, well, that's a shitty way of feeling shitty about yourself. Because they're not very mature as human beings. So if there are some people out there like Socrates, like Jesus Christ, you know, like Malcolm, like anyone who has deemed to be a hero of humanity, Gilgamesh, Enkidu, if you allow them to make you feel bad, then you'll kind of strive to give your life a different flavor. But that would also have some negative consequences. Once you hang out with Malcolm X and his books, you won't be able to tolerate me or this class. As a thinker, I'm far too much of an infantile. So you'll walk away. And there's a good chance you'll just walk away from academia altogether. And you'll go on this quest to find a Malcolm X who's like living and quacking, and you can see and touch and taste. And so what some of these heroes have the power to do is that they make you like Noah. Humanity will drown. They'll be the boat. And you'll just be standing or sitting or laying on this boat, and there is no other boat to have. And everything around you is like storming and chaotic. And your only protective mechanism is this boat, i.e. Malcolm. So it's good to feel shitty. You know, when your dad looks at you and you're like 50 and you say, I don't know if you saw that movie, it was about Johnny Cash. I mean, this is a great musician now. He divorced his wife. He's got this, you know, bunch of money. There's a tractor that's rusting in the backyard. He looks depressed, and his father looks at him and says, look at you. You have fame, you have money, but your life is a mess. What a shitty place to be. And he gets really angry. And that's a really, really good comment to make to your kid. As a parent, you ought to make your kid feel shitty. Feeling shitty is good, if it's done by the right people. You know, some judgments are good. You know, if your 19-year-old friend looks at you and says, why don't you grow up? Well, that's a shitty judgment. If on the other hand, like someone who's 35 or 40, you know, and you guys are very close and he cared for you, you know, and you realize that you're just wasting your time away, and he's got some experience under his belt, he looks at you and slaps you and says, you know, you're just a shitty human being. That's a great judgment upon you, man. And you'll be very lucky if you happen to be in the right place in life where that comment that you're a shitty of a human being goes inside you, and then you actually feel bad about yourself, and it stays with you. It's good for you. You're very lucky.